Welcome friends to the 2024 Toyota Grand Highlander review. Let's first talk about the various trim levels so you can become a little bit better acquainted with this new three-row SUV. But before I do, I would like to say that towards the end of this review, I will share with you how you can save $4,000 off the MSRP of the pure gas models of the Grand Highlander. More on that towards the end. Okay, so we have a pure gas model powered by a 2.4 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine with 265 horsepower and an 8-speed automatic transmission. This model will be available in the XLE trim, the Limited, and the Platinum at the top. Then you have the hybrids like what I'm checking out here in this review. And this is powered by a naturally aspirated 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine with a total system output of 245 horsepower. Then you have the Hybrid Max at the top with 362 horsepower, and that SUV will only be available as a Limited or a fully loaded Platinum. Personally, I do like the Limited trim level for its balance of price and great features, but you can of course see for yourself what each trim level comes with on Toyota's own website. For right now, let's go ahead and let's get into my driving thoughts. All right, the Grand Highlander. This is a SUV that I'm really impressed with. Toyota has managed to produce a comfortable, quiet, and refined three-row SUV here. This is so well executed because they've really managed to give you luxurious driving vibes here without this being a Lexus. You know, you can stay with this Toyota brand and truly get a luxury-esque driving experience. So let me explain why. Whenever I drive this SUV, this has a effortless gliding sensation as it rolls down the road. There's really no rolling resistance here as I'm driving the Grand Highlander. Now, I get it. A lot of that can be attributed to the excellent Continental all-season tires that I have on this test vehicle. But regardless, I still love the effortless driving feel. The other thing, this is really quiet as well. Hardly any wind noise or road noise, even out on the highway, which I absolutely love. And when I checked on Toyota's website, apparently every trim level from the XLE all the way up to the Platinum, they are all going to utilize acoustic laminated front windshield and acoustic laminated side glass in the front. So that thicker double paned or double glazed glass, whatever you want to call it. That's what we have here, and apparently even the XLE models are going to come with that as well, according to Toyota's official spec sheet. And this is great. This is really helping with the wind noise. And that's what I'm saying. This is really giving you that luxury car driving experience. Something that you would typically expect out of a Lexus. And of course, like you would expect, this is a very comfortable SUV. It's soaking up the bumps really well, even with these 20-inch wheels. And for once, I would like to have these 20-inch wheels. That's another reason why I like the Limited. Because although this is riding really soft, this is definitely a more sloppier driving experience. The handling is, I'm not going to say bad or terrible because it's not that. But the steering and the suspension, it all feels a little bit slushy and soft. So I'll take a few corners here to demonstrate. Something I really like is the brakes. I mean, being a hybrid, we do have regenerative braking and all that, but regardless, feels good. You know, it'll obviously take corners. You know, it's not going to fall flat on its face or anything, but having larger wheels is going to help with the rigidity of this SUV. Because you're also experiencing a little bit more lean in the corners, and I'm talking about your everyday corners, like your everyday left-hand, right-hand turns that you make. You're going to notice that your occupants, they're going to be, you know, kind of moving around a little bit more when you take those everyday corners. So you have to drive accordingly and try to reduce that body lean when you take those everyday corners. You have to be a little bit more calm and sedate, and obviously most people, they are calm and sedate when they drive vehicles like this. And it's really only these everyday turns where you have to watch out for. Surprisingly, when you take long sweeping corners, the Grand Highlander does a pretty good job of coping in those situations. You don't feel like you're driving some unruly, massive product during those long sweeping corners. So it's a very interesting and complicated dynamic that I've noticed with this product. Regardless, I still love driving this due to how well it rides and how quiet it is. Again, it's a true luxury car driving experience. So being that the handling is slightly sloppy, not a big deal. And a lot of it also comes down to the steering feel as well. The way the steering is tuned, it once again makes you feel like you're driving a sloppier vehicle than you really are, because you have like this on-center deadness, especially out on the highway. Like the actual stability of this car at high speeds is very good, because I was doing really good speeds out on the highway with this SUV, and it really was not an issue. But there was a on-center deadness with the steering, which a lot of that gets improved if you put this SUV into sport mode. The steering does stiffen up, so that is good, and it doesn't seem to negatively impact anything else. Like the drivetrain still remains smooth, at least with this hybrid. I'm not sure how it's going to react with a pure gas model. But with the regular hybrid, I love the way sport mode feels. I actually, for once, do drive around in sport mode with this Grand Highlander just so I can get the stiffer steering. And it's not like we have adaptive dampers or anything, so the ride quality does not get any stiffer. So yeah, that's another reason why I would like to skip the XLE, as it comes with smaller 18-inch wheels. And that would once again make the Grand Highlander feel softer and looser to drive, and I simply don't want that. I do like the way these 20s feel. So I think you get it regarding the way this SUV drives and how refined it feels out on the road. I'm sure we can all appreciate those aspects. But the speed is another thing I really like about at least this hybrid version. This is supposed to be the slowest Grand Highlander that you can get. A regular turbocharged 4-cylinder, the pure gas model, is a bit quicker than this regular hybrid, according to Car and Driver. I believe they tested the gas model to do 0 to 60 in like 7.5 seconds, and this hybrid did it in 7.8. It's not a big difference, but regardless, this thing picks up in speed really well. And you don't even notice that you're doing those speeds. I mean, you can be doing 10, 15 miles an hour over the speed limit and not even notice it. So surprisingly, you could easily get speeding tickets with this SUV, something to watch out for. But once again, a trait of a true luxury product. It's masking the speed from you. And when you accelerate, you don't have this completely nasty sound coming from the naturally aspirated 4-cylinder engine. Before, with Toyotas, my goodness, they would make this ridiculous, nasty noise. No more with this Grand Highlander, and also with the Toyota Crown that I tested. I drove a XLE Crown, was really impressed with that as well. That also had a nice quiet engine, so I appreciate them paying attention to the sound insulation in the engine bay. And as you would expect, fuel economy is really great for a vehicle of this size. This is about 201 inches long total, and it weighs about 4,700 pounds. I believe you get like 36 mpg in the city and 31 out on the highway, something along those lines. A all-wheel drive 4-cylinder is going to be around 20 in the city, 26 out on the highway. for like a limited all-wheel drive gas model. And according to Toyota, you can utilize regular fuel apparently across the board, no matter which trim level you go with. Other aspects of driving this SUV, you can bust U-turns really easily despite the large size. And also, when you drive this car out in the street, the only thing that you notice is the pure width of the Grand Highlander. Otherwise, this is pretty easy to drive out on the road. You can easily see around. I mean, blind spots not really an issue. The mirrors are doing a good job. So overall, well done, well executed product from Toyota. For once, if you don't want to, you don't have to necessarily step up to the Lexus. Now, I haven't tried the TX yet, but I'm assuming a TX is going to be a more buttoned up version of the Grand Highlander. I'm excited to try one. I should be getting one here shortly. But if you don't want to move up to a Lexus, or you don't want to be a badge snob, or whatever the case might be, you can stick with this Grand Highlander and have a very impressive driving experience. So with that established, let's go ahead and let's transition into this interior segment now. Okay, now that we are stopped, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior space. The interior, as you can see, not super luxurious, but it is functional. It's getting the job done. You have physical buttons and switches for your HVAC, for a lot of other useful everyday features as well. You have one-touch up and down windows for all 4 windows. You get heated and ventilated front seats here with the Limited, and the ventilated seats, for once, it's doing a really good job in keeping me cool. And when you go with the Limited or with the Platinum, you get leather trimmed seats, as you can see here. When you go with the XLE Grand Highlander, you're going to get Softex seating. But even with the XLE, you will still be getting heated front seats. All right, and with this Limited, we also have a heated steering wheel. We have automatic high beams, automatic headlights, a wireless charging pad, and the 12.3-inch infotainment screen that comes standard across the board. And we do have wireless Apple CarPlay and wireless Android Auto. Everything works really well. Infotainment, that's easy to use. It's nothing special to look at, but it's one of the better infotainments out there due to how easy it is and because there is no real learning curve with it. Another reason why I absolutely love the Limited is because of the JBL audio system. It sounds really good, and you do have to step up to the Limited to get the JBL. It's not even an option on the XLE. But surprisingly, this is still kind of a weird Limited trim level that I have here to test out, because we don't even have a moonroof here with this test model, and we also don't have a 360 camera. Now, you can get both of those things with the Limited, but those are options that you have to pay for. But it's just crazy that we have over a $50,000 SUV without even a sunroof, which personally, I'm happy about that, because I don't like sunroofs or pano roofs. Because if you do select the option, you are going to get a pano moonroof here, not just a regular sunroof. That's what they offer. So it's either pano or no sunroof at all. Personally, I don't like having a massive hole cut in my roof with that super heavy glass, and it's just something I don't want to deal with. But in the United States, there's a lot of people who won't even purchase a new vehicle if it doesn't come with a sunroof. So it's interesting the way they have these options and trim levels laid out. But something I must have, especially with a vehicle of this size, is a 360 camera. I think they make you pay like $600 to get the 360 cam in the Limited trim. I would definitely opt for that, although I believe they should give that to you as standard. Anyway, when you go with the Platinum, you're going to get things like a heads-up display, heated and ventilated seats in the back, and like a digital rear view mirror. So if you have things stacked up to the brim in your Grand Highlander, you can still see what's going on behind you when you're driving, because they give you a digital rear view mirror, again, with the Platinum. You also get a multi-terrain select with the Platinums. For your mud, your gravel, etc. So you have those extra modes that you can play with, but really it's not necessary unless you have deep pockets and you see something in the Platinum trim level that you like. I think you can personally just save the money, go with the Limited. I think this is the perfect balance in the lineup. Other things to keep in mind, the storage space is absolutely mega. You have massive cup holders in the middle and the door pockets. The center armrest, that's huge. Glove box is good. And you have like a tray in the front passenger area where you can literally put smartphones in it. And you have USB-C ports all over the place. And you have additional storage here in the front next to your wireless charging pad, which I do not like the wireless charger in this vehicle. It doesn't always charge my device. It doesn't always recognize it. And also, if you're driving this more aggressively, your phone is just going to be flopping around all over the place because due to the body lean, your phone is just going to slide out of that wireless charging pad, so it's pretty much useless, but whatever. Before I talk about the rear, I will quickly cover the gauge cluster, which at first, there's definitely a learning curve here with this digital gauge cluster. It's much more difficult to use compared to your infotainment screen. In fact, they could have easily moved some of these features into the infotainment because there's really nothing going on with this massive 12.3-inch infotainment screen. They really dumped a lot of those features and information into your gauge cluster for whatever reason, and you access all of your safety tech here as well. And turning off the lane keeping assist was kind of a pain. It is really intrusive with this product, so I definitely had to turn that off. But fortunately, even if you go with a base XLE, you are going to get the useful safety tech as standard, like blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert. That is good. And with the XLE, you're not going to get this full digital cluster. You're going to get like a 7-inch display in the middle of your analog gauges, and that's perfectly fine. That's really all you need. But as mentioned before, I like the Limited, especially for that JBL audio system. And these leather trim seats, they are nice. They are very comfortable. You have a bit of lumbar support here as well, so you can definitely put the miles on with these seats. And regarding the rear, you have plenty of legroom in the second row. And with the Limited, you do get heated seats in the second row. Again, if you went with the Platinum, you would get the heated and ventilated seats in the second row. I am 5'11". I can easily get in and out of this SUV, and I have plenty of space to sit behind myself. But the big thing you want to know about, and one of the reasons why you're going to consider getting this, is for the third row that this has to offer. I'm sure you've already heard Toyota, they designed this SUV to literally have adults sit in the third row. Is that the case? To be honest, yeah, it's good. It's really not bad. So here's my experience with the third row. Currently, I have the second row set all the way back. So that's part of the reason why I have such amazing second row rear legroom. And despite that, I can still technically sit in the third row. Like, it's not an issue, but my knees are absolutely pressed up against the rear seats there. And in general, like with most three rows, the floor is a bit higher. All right, but if the second row can just scoot up one level, they can just go up a little bit more, then I have a lot more space to sit in the third row, especially because Toyota was smart and they have these seats mounted up higher, so I can actually slide my feet underneath both the first and the second row seats. So that's great. So yeah, the third row is usable for adults, but there is another competitor that you should keep in mind, and that is the Honda Pilot. That is another newly redesigned vehicle that is super practical, plenty of space on the inside, and the third row is very similar to this Grand Highlander. On the spec sheet, the Honda Pilot has like a 32-inch third row rear legroom, and this Grand Highlander, it's like 33 inches or something for the third row rear legroom. So you just get 1 inch more here. However, the Honda Pilot has 2 inches more headroom in the third row, and the Honda Pilot is offering all of this while being about 2 inches shorter overall compared to this Grand Highlander. But where the Grand Highlander makes its comeback is with the trunk space. It is truly massive. It offers a ton of space even with the third row up. So because of that, this is still a proper family hauler. And obviously, if I can fit in the third row, then kids, that's not even going to be an issue. And you do have a spare tire in the back as well. But just for an additional reference point, something like a Tahoe or a Suburban is going to offer you 3 inches more third row legroom than what we have here with this Grand Highlander. So this quite isn't on the level of those massive Tahoes and Expeditions, but it's pretty close while getting amazing fuel economy no matter which model you go with. So for all those reasons, I still believe this is going to be a go-to product for many families. It should definitely be on your short list. And with that established, let's go ahead and let's conclude. All right, so as you can see, I'm really impressed with the way that this SUV drives. It's very luxurious, soft, supple, refined, quiet, all of those things. And it glides down the road effortlessly, especially with these Continental tires. And the speed and thrust is excellent with just this hybrid. I mean, this is the slowest Grand Highlander that you can get, and it feels absolutely effortless out on the road. So the pure gas model and the Hybrid Max, yeah, that's really going to be quick. The interior, it's simple, it's functional. You have so much space, not only for people, but also for things as well, right? And the JBL audio system, that's brilliant. It's got plenty of bass, it's clear, no issues. Gauge cluster was a little difficult to understand at first, but overall, this is absolutely going to serve families really well. The biggest competitor to this is certainly going to be the Honda Pilot, because the Pilot is almost as practical as this, a little bit less trunk space, but that aside, it's also got plenty of cubby spaces, and it's amazing to drive as well. Like, the handling of the Pilot is superb, and that's what really sets it apart from the rest of the competitors. That torque vectoring, all-wheel drive Pilot. There are so many things you can do with that SUV and get away with that you simply can't with the other competitors. Now, a lot of people are going to say, oh, why does handling even matter with an SUV? That is a very ignorant comment to make. Handling matters no matter what the vehicle is. It doesn't matter if it's a semi-truck, an SUV, a pickup truck, it doesn't matter. You want to feel confident behind the wheel. And the Honda Pilot, it offers that in spades. And that naturally aspirated V6 is epic as well. But the problem with the Pilot is it feels really dry and dreary and pretty generic. Whereas even though this Grand Highlander, it's not perfect in its handling demeanor, it's got a unique luxury feel that just makes you appreciate driving it and makes you want to go on long trips and just haul the family around. So those are great attributes that's going on with this SUV. But the Pilot is amazing as well. Just thought I would throw that out there. Same thing with the Hyundai Kia twins. I get it, not everybody likes that brand, but you know, I do like the Telluride a lot. Despite its age, they really nailed that vehicle, especially when it first came out, and that's just continued throughout the years. So that's why during the pandemic, people were paying like 75 grand to get their hands on a Telluride. That is a proper SUV, but I get it. If you don't like that brand, forget about it. This is great as it sits, and I did mention at the beginning of this video, you can save $4,000 off the MSRP of a pure gas model Grand Highlander. How can you do that? You can reach out to a broker named Jim. He is one of the largest Toyota brokers in the United States, and he offers nationwide shipping as well. Now, if you want a hybrid, he does offer them, because him and his dealerships, they're some of the largest in the country. They actually get allocations for these vehicles, so they have a legitimately good selection. So if you want a hybrid, you can get it, but you're gonna have to pay full MSRP for it. Personally, I think if I was shopping for this, I would go with the gas model just to get that substantial $4,000 savings, because naturally the pure gas model is going to be a couple grand cheaper than a similarly equipped hybrid just to begin with, and then you tack on that discount on top. Yeah, I feel like that's more important. Plus the pure gas model, it's a little bit quicker still compared to this hybrid, something else to keep in mind if you care about that. So if you want to reach out to Jim and take advantage of some of his deals, he just has a phone number. You simply text him, and if you mention Meyn Motor Group, he'll take $50 off of his broker fee, because he does charge a broker fee to access these amazing Toyota deals. He literally has the best Toyota pricing in the country, so it's well worth paying that broker fee. And his dealerships are located in Pennsylvania and California, so if you need shipping, he can arrange that. However, that's something you have to pay extra for, but even with all of that broker fee and shipping, it's really worth buying from Jim, because I personally got my 4Runner from him. Literally one of the best deals in the country that I got on my 4Runner. So I'll have Jim's information in the description box below. And if you found value with this content, make sure to like and subscribe. If you have any more questions regarding this SUV, leave it down in the comment section below. And if you're an owner of one of these Grand Highlanders, let us know in the comments how you like it and how your ownership experience has been. I hope to get a Lexus TX soon to test out. I'm really excited to try that SUV because this is so good. I feel like the TX is simply going to be a more buttoned up version of what we have here. So again, stay subscribed so you don't miss any of my latest uploads. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and goodbye.